Hi, this is Margaret Hershey on The Move with Margaret, and thank you for joining me on my podcast today. And today I've got the amazing Tamara Pheiffer with me, and she is just incredible because as human beings, and especially today, we're all taking photos of ourselves all the time. We want to look good, and you can't look good if you feel bad, and you don't want to look old. I mean, nobody wants to be old. My mentor's wife said to me, Margaret, getting old is not for sissies. And I have to agree with her. The older I get, oh my gosh, it is not for sissies. And we're going to live longer today as well. So we want to look better for longer. And that's what tomorrow's whole life is about, is longevity and making you look good. So tomorrow, welcome to my show. I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much. I always love chatting to you, so I'm really excited to get into this today.
Yes, absolutely. Now let's just go. We got so much to talk about, but just let's go back to the little Tamara growing up. I know your parents were as famous photographers, and as their beautiful little girl, you must have had millions of photos taken of you. So tell us about where you come from and how you grew up, and what put you on this path to become a doctor. Because I mean, you must be flipping clever at school. Because I thought I was clever, but I could not have been a doctor. So tell us the story.
So I grew up in George. I was actually born in Joburg, but I always joke with people and say that my parents had to, like Twilight, the movie with the vampires,
Yeah.
that because I was born with red hair, my parents had to move to a town that is 90% overcast and raining, which is George. So when I was about 6 months old, we moved down to George. And I think it offers a very different kind of lifestyle for kids when they're younger. So I really had free run. I got to do a lot of sport. I got to live quite a healthy lifestyle because there just wasn't, danger out there. I could go play. And then I went into natural medicine actually, which is a bit of a weird way I got into it. I was going to do psychology initially, and then my parents are photographers, and this lady came down from Joburg, and she was in her fifth year of homeopathy. And when she
Wow.
listed her subjects, it was everything I wanted to do. She was doing anatomy, where she got to cut up a cadaver. I know that's not cool for most people. For me, it's amazing. I can see how everything works. They did all their diagnostics with the medical students, and they did 2 years of diagnostics, which is quite very intensive. I think it's even more intensive than medicine. And I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, which I don't know if it drove me in the wrong direction, but the reason I went with homeopathy was that 3 out of 4 of my grandparents died from mistakes like clashes in medication and misdiagnoses and things. And I just wanted to find a way that I could use nature to help health and kind of work alongside medicine. So that's what I did. I did my homeopathy first, and then after that, I studied genetics and biogerontology and performance enhancements and all kinds of other things. And that's how I got to where I am today. So today I'm
Oh,
sitting,
wow.
yeah, I sit on the board of the International Longevity Association, the Medical and Scientific Board, and I spend my time researching and writing papers and trying very hard to bring all of the top regenerative treatments to places like South Africa where we can't have access to them. And if the country doesn't have access to them, I bring the people to that country.
Oh, wow. Okay. So now you've recently been in Lithuania. So tell us
Mm.
about that journey, which is quite something, because that's where your ancestors came from Lithuania to South Africa. And now here you are going back to Lithuania to I don't know what you did there. Tell us.
Yeah, that's right. So my great grandparents, all 4 of my great grandparents on my dad's side, left Lithuania around 1918, 1919, and came to South Africa. So we are fourth generation South African now.
Wow.
But it was quite a full circle experience going back to Lithuania. I was there for the first time last year, and then I went back this year. And it's part of our outreach of the International Longevity Association to build countries up in this sphere of longevity. So we spoke in 7 cities, 7 talks in 7 cities,
Oh,
and in
wow.
yeah, oh, it was a lot, but so amazing. And yeah,
Yes.
got to speak in Parliament, which was terrifying, but really good.
So talking about it, I mean, aging is going to happen, but you can make. I mean, we're going to live for longer now, which is quite scary. They say if you get to 50, you're going to live to over 100, and you don't want to be looking old and decrepit for the last 50 years of your life. So what can we do to prevent that? to prevent ourselves getting old, looking old, and feeling old and being old. I mean, I'm a great believer in you've got to be supple because, I see my friends shuffling along. They can't walk anymore, and it's really, really awful. Yeah, tell us, how do we go about it? Because we all want to be young and gorgeous, but it's a hard job today. I say it's a full-time job when you get to my age.
It's a lifestyle. So for me, the biggest gift we can give ourselves is as we age that we remain mobile, we remain agile, and we remain sharp of mind. And I feel like everything else comes in around that. So if we've got enough muscle mass, they've shown that the survival rate in hospital is much greater for stronger people, people who have got good muscle mass, and that agility is so important. So there's actually this really cool test that I'll show you, totally free longevity test that you can do at home. And they did a big research where they could find out how you could do this. And every time you wobbled or put your hand down or put your foot down, they could tell how long you would live. You want to see it?
My goodness, that's incredible.
We can do it now. So
Okay,
everyone at
you
home
do
can
it. You
try.
do it.
Take
Okay,
my shoes off, move everything to the side.
okay.
So all you have to do is you stand, you cross your legs
Yes.
in front of you, and then you've just got to
Yeah.
sit down. Let me go back a bit so you can see my feet. Sit down and get back up again. So sit down,
Oh my
lift your
God, I don't think I'd ever get back up again from that angle.
lift back up.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay. I'm going to try that, but I'm definitely not going to try that in front of the camera. I want to tell you something. I think I might be like a cockroach lying on my back with my legs in the air for half an
yeah, so that
hour.
movement is just so good to analyze your muscle strength, but also your coordination and
Yeah.
your agility. Because we all know we've seen people who we love who they get to sort of their 80s or their 70s and they have that first fall where they break something, and after that it's a downward spiral. But
Yeah.
so if we can prevent that first fall, if we're strong enough and agile enough and supple enough to get up off of the floor, then we can prevent that. And
I've never thought about that. That's incredible. I know I've got a friend here called Noon, and she can do that. And I said to her, I don't know how you do that, but now I'm going to practice because I mean, I don't want to be old and decrepit and not be able to get off the floor. And also, you're very into nutrition. As you know, I'm vegan, so I'm also into nutrition. I believe what you put in your body makes you sick or well, definitely. And you'll be amazed to hear that I've always been an advocate of not sleeping much because I've never been a sleeper. And now I've got something called a ground sheet, which you put on your bed and you plug in and it makes you sleep. And I've never slept better in my life. I mean, I lie down, I go to sleep, and my alarm wakes up, I wake up. It's absolutely incredible. So tell us about nutrition and sleep and what we should be doing to make sure that we have a better life.
yeah, so we've all heard the saying, you are what you eat. But there's also a saying that goes with that, which is you are what you don't poop out. So
Okay.
what your
I
body
never thought of
absorbs.
that one. I didn't see that one coming.
So your body actually needs to get the nutrition out of the food. It's not just about what you put in, but if you have good gut health and you're absorbing the nutrients, that's also really important. And the easiest basic rule I have for nutrition is if it's made by the earth, it's probably good for you. And if it's made by people, it's probably less good for you because
Yeah.
that's for profit and not for health.
Yes.
So the more processed, the worse it gets. So I always advise people to do perimeter shopping. So if you stay on the
Yeah.
outside of the shop, that's where all the
Yeah.
fresh stuff is. And the
Yeah.
minute you go into the aisles, things start to take a turn.
Oh, wow. Such a good one, that really, such a good one. And I believe that. But do you believe there's enough nutrition in plants and things now to keep us going? I mean, I think I'm living proof that there is, but I think a lot of people think, even the plants now are genetically modified and all that type of thing. So tell us about that.
It depends also on the country you're in and where you're getting your fruits and veg from can make a huge impact. So the more we industrializing farming, the more we're getting seedless fruits and veggies. These things are changing, but it doesn't mean we can't get nutrition from them. It's just, it is different. So in some instances, depending on your genetics as well. So some people have great genetics that can absorb all the food, the vitamins. I, for example, I've got a little cycle that doesn't work so well called methylation. And that cycle allows you to get your B6, B12, and folic acid from your food to create energy. My body just can't do it. So for me, I do need to supplement with the activated form of those nutrients. But in a person who can do that easily, they can get it from fruits and veggies and from their food sources.
Now, how do
So
you know if you've got that? Because you might be eating your
yeah.
fruit and veggies, not realizing that they're going straight out your body and not being absorbed.
Exactly. So I love that we get this amazing body, and I want us to celebrate that this thing can move and it can support us, and we should treat it well. And the more we know about this vehicle that we're going to be living in for the next up to 200 years,
Yeah.
the better we can design this diet, lifestyle, world around us, our environment. They call it the exposome. So everything that your body interacts with in the world, we can design that according to all the knowledge we have about this body that we're living in.
Wow, that's incredible. And you talk about biohacking. What is biohacking? I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I think it's gotten a little bit of a bad rap. It started off with good intention, and now it's gotten a bit of a bad rap where there's some celebrities out there doing some crazy things. But it started off with people wanting to know all about their own body and empowering themselves to be proactive in their healthcare rather than reactive. So
Yeah,
instead of waiting for a disease to occur, to be able to predict almost and then to optimize our function. So, which exercises work best for me, not best for everyone, which
yeah.
nutrition works best for me, and then that proactive form of healthcare. So, I'll tell you a personal story of why I'm so passionate about all of this is that a little while ago, I did some blood tests on my dad, and I saw in his blood test that he was heading for a heart attack. There were
Really?
lots of different signs there, and I sent him straight to the hospital. Now, he lives very far from me, so I couldn't be there to be part of the process. Took him to the hospital, showed him the blood test, and they said that he's crazy, there's nothing wrong with him, he needs to go home. I sent him to a specialist physician. Specialist physician said, there's nothing wrong with him, he must go home. Sent him to a cardiologist. The cardiologist said, your daughter's unethical for doing these tests, there's nothing wrong with you, go home. And 6 months later, he had a massive heart attack that destroyed 70% of his heart.
My gosh.
So I'm not saying we could have prevented it definitely, but I'm saying we could have put maybe some things in place that could have prolonged the inevitability or perhaps put things in place to stop that from happening. But people are generally not trained for preventative, they're trained for reactive.
Yeah. And I think preventative medicine is now coming to the fore a lot because they say prevention is better than cure, and it is so much better to prevent it than to try and cure it once it's happened. So how do we go about this? Where does a normal person start? I mean, like me, I eat healthy, I do exercise, but I can still feel old age creeping up. So what can I do to prevent that, do you think?
I think a good place to start is to do annual blood tests so that we can just see if there's a bit of inflammation creeping in, anything like that. But as you say, eating clean, staying mobile, and sleeping well are the top investments you can make in your health. That's sleeping. I'm so glad you're sleeping now.
Yeah.
The deep sleep, I've actually just started because I'm a terrible sleeper, terrible, terrible, and I track my sleep now. And the deep sleep is one of the most important things. You should get 90 minutes of deep sleep and 90 minutes of REM, which is where you're
Yeah.
dreaming.
Yeah.
Deep sleep is what activates those little brain janitors to clean out all of the accumulated rubbish that came into the brain during the day. And if you
Yeah.
don't have that deep sleep, it doesn't happen. So it can increase your risk for dementia and Alzheimer's if we're not getting that deep sleep.
That's the biggest thing because dementia and Alzheimer's is now becoming a major thing. I'm
So
shocked the people that I know who you don't realize it and it sort of creeps up on you. So that's another thing I want to talk about. Alzheimer's and dementia creep up on you and you don't realize it. I've got a tenant in one of my flats in Cape Town and she started coming up with crazy things and I didn't understand it. And then I realized, oh my gosh, it's dementia creeping in slowly but surely. And I know when they told me my mother was getting dementia, although she was 99 at the time, I was so upset. I said, no, she's not. This is how she's always been a difficult person. She's always done that. And they said, no, it's dementia. So I think it's something that we don't know enough about. We don't know if it's going to creep up on the people we're around. And most of all, we don't know if it's going to creep up on us. So tell us about that and how we can prevent that from happening. I started
yeah,
by sleeping more. You've
yeah.
got to sleep. I had to sleep more.
Mm. Definitely the sleeping more. Also, hormones for women, as we reach around 38 to 42, we start with perimenopause. We suffer with perimenopause or we live through perimenopause for up to 12 years, sometimes 15 years. So it's a long time before the period stops and the doctors start taking us seriously for these kinds of things. And
Yeah.
that's when the estrogen drops, we get a big drop in memory. So that's already a big scary thing for us. The sleep is very, very important. But there's so many other things that they're now seeing that affects neurological health. So even this glyphosate. So glyphosate is a big poison that is sprayed on wheat and things like that, but it's been illegal in Europe since 2016. But we're seeing a lot of it in the States and a lot of it in South Africa, and it causes neurological issues. So a lot of my patients, they can eat a croissant in Paris and not have any symptoms, but they eat it in South Africa and they feel bloated and yuck.
Mm.
And we're now seeing it's more to do with those kinds of things.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. We in the past we've accepted aging. You know, you would go to work, and then about 50 you'd start thinking about retirement. At 60 you'd retire, and you know, at 65 you'd probably die, and definitely by 70. But now you're going through that same process, but you're going to carry on until 100 or more. How can you make sure that those latter years are you actually, and you, I mean, you've got to start preparing when you're younger, so you're more healthy when you're older.
Honestly think you're the biggest example and inspiration for all of this, because you just every time I see Margaret's doing something amazing and something new and learning something new and studying something new and creating a new career path. And a lot of people, as you say, there's this ageism psychology and also
Yes.
ageism against people. I even find if I'm speaking at a conference, for example, and then people find out my age, they kind of, I'm 42. They thought I was maybe in my 30s, and now they're like, oh, well, she's 42. So it's just an interesting world we live in, sadly, that people
Yeah.
are so aged. But the
Uh,
biggest for me is move, and move
yeah.
not only in structured exercise, but have a movement lifestyle. There was a study that came out recently that people who eat on the floor live longer, and that's not
Really.
magic, but it's because the getting up and standing up and getting on the floor and standing up and getting on the floor, that's really important
Wow.
as a mobility thing as we age. Eating clean and keeping the mind active. Keep learning languages, playing, doing crosswords, doing these kinds of things is really important. And then we can regenerate. So science is now moving so fast that we can regenerate ourselves. And I think in the next 10 years, it's going to be unbelievable. And we're going to feel and look 30 until we're in our 80s, 90s, 100s.
Wow, I can live in hopes for that one. But now, talk to me about energy. I'm a great believer in energy. You've got to have the right energy. I read the energy in a room. I can walk into a room. I can feel the energy. It was so funny because we went to I'm a realtor here, so we go into these houses, and I just walked into this house, and it just had such bad energy. And I said I could never sell this house because the energy in it is so bad. And then we did a house yesterday, and it had such good energy in it. I mean, the guy was fantastic, and the energy was just good. So I think that's something that we can't see, but we can all feel it. And how do we deal with that?
Yeah, I would say energy, positive mindset, joy, and connection is incredibly, incredibly important. They found that loneliness and sadness is it's actually worse for you than smoking, was the
Oh,
latest study.
really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's worse for your longevity than smoking. So these unseen forces, it's so difficult to measure, but we can measure frequency.
Yeah.
So the frequency in your heart, for example, when you're sleeping next to your partner, your heart will sync up. And they
Yes.
found that now even the frequency in our brain, when you do an EEG, when you are with somebody who's positive, will change frequency, and with someone who's negative will change frequency.
Wow.
So we can measure it now. And surrounding yourself with positivity and positive people, we can't always be positive. That would be toxic. We also go through ups and downs. But to see things just through a slightly different lens and to be able to have that skill to reframe is
Yes.
incredibly powerful. And you have that skill in spades. I think you should write this book.
Yeah. Well, and talking about a book, you've written a part of a book. Show us the book that you've just published now.
Yeah, it's so exciting. So we published this recently. It's Healthy Longevity Policies and Practices. It's an academic book. It's more of a textbook than anything, but it's by Springer, which I'm very proud of because they publish all the big fancy medical things. And
Yeah.
Dr. Ilya Stamler is the primary editor. And then I contributed to 3 of the chapters in the book. Finding it. It's the first chapter was good practices in healthy longevity medicine, and then pre-adult health span interventions. So this was quite interesting writing this chapter because we really went into how to do early interventions, and we found that men, so we always blame everything on the mom with regard to fetal
Yeah.
development, but actually the male behaviors 3 months before conception impacts
Yeah.
the epigenetics of the child.
Oh, wow. Who would know that? My goodness.
Crazy, right? So we really have to be quite conscious when we're bringing life into the world of what the fetus and even preconception, what's being exposed. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's absolutely unbelievable. But now, what surprised you most about what you've discovered about health with all the studies that you've done? Because you love research and you love studying, you love finding out new things. What's been the biggest surprise to you?
Say honestly, the biggest surprise is stagnation of thought and ego. So at the moment, the entire body of medical knowledge, so everything from like pre-Egyptian era, everything we've ever known about medicine, everything ever written, every textbook, in was it 2025, they estimated that that entire body of knowledge doubled every 73 days.
Oh, wow. It's
So
incredible.
in 6 years, if you do your medical degree in 6 years, it's doubled 30 times.
Yeah.
So what that means is every 12 to 14 months, half of everything we knew to be true in medicine becomes clinically irrelevant and false.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to, as a practitioner, be mobile enough to utilize these tools like AI,
Yeah.
because without it, there's no way we can remember or know all these data points. And as a patient, to understand that when your doctor changes his mind, thank God he changed his mind. That means he's
Yeah.
moving with the research. He's not sticking to the same stuff from 50 years ago. So
Yeah.
that for me was a big, big surprise. And then another big surprise was there was research done at Harvard, but they're now replicating that research to see how true it is. That when they asked doctors, they did really, really difficult diagnostic cases for doctors, and the accuracy was 72%. When they gave the doctor AI, that accuracy went up to 76%, but
Wow.
AI on its own got 92%.
My goodness. So
So
everybody's going
why?
to be diagnosing themselves with AI at the moment.
No, I wouldn't go that far. But why is the doctor not getting a higher mark when he's using AI? That's the big
Really?
question. Why are we not? And I wouldn't use like ChatGPT and Claude. They can give you a lot of good information, but I wouldn't say it's medically 100% accurate. The AI I'm talking about is only trained on medical research and diagnostics, and they've prepared doctors' tools. So it's really trained AI, trained agents that know they're not going to give you stuff from Wikipedia, which isn't
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so that's quite scary now, hey? And often when you go to the doctor, they give you the medicine and one size fits all. You've got blood pressure, they give you Zartan. You've got heart trouble, they give you this. But you don't believe that. You believe that, you've got everybody's going to be diagnosed individually because we're all so individual. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. I mean, we're as biochemically different as we are looking different on the outside. Each fingerprint, I mean, even our microbiome, the kind of bugs that live in our gut, is
Yeah,
completely individualized. So things that we used to do, like giving probiotics now, just willy-nilly probiotics without looking at the species and the genus of the probiotic, we can't really, it's not accurate to do that unless we know you need that exact species. Rather
yeah,
give prebiotics, eat lots of fiber, eat lots of veggies, so that your natural good bacteria can grow. So
yeah,
yes, very much. I think you need to spend time with your doctor and think the doctor needs to really get to know you as a human. Even if you have a disease, even if you have something like Parkinson's, you're still a person with Parkinson's. You're not only Parkinson's.
yes.
So very much.
So So, what do we do to make sure that we are looking after ourselves as best we can? Because, I never go to the doctor. I hate going to the doctor. And I had to go yesterday for medical insurance purposes. And I just thought, oh, I don't like this at all. But, yeah, what can we do to look after ourselves? How do we go about that?
I honestly believe know thyself is the first one. So know who you are as a person, know where your strengths and weaknesses are, know what motivates you and what doesn't motivate you, utilize those skills, and then if you can do, I mean, you don't even need a doctor anymore to do your genetics. You can order it off things like 23andMe. I don't know if I'm allowed to say brand names, or a lot of these places. And if you can, do your genetics, understand your microbiome, understand what's going on in your blood test, do a preventative MRI to check for early things like early tumors that you wouldn't have symptoms of so that we can fix it early. I'm a big believer in that. And maybe then if you feel like it's a doctor that's doing 15 minutes, try and find somebody that's done integrative medicine, functional medicine, they're trained to be proactive in the healthcare.
Yeah, because I think we really have to take control of our bodies. You know, they say your body's the temple of your soul, and you really have to take control of it and know that you're going to work out that you're going to live to at least 100. Now, you think we're going to live even longer. Tell us about that. How long do you think we're going to live?
It's at the moment, the big focus is improving health span more than lifespan. And as a side effect, the lifespan will increase. So, how do we stay healthy, agile, sharp of mind, energetic until our late 90s, hundreds, 110s, and then only decline in the last 2 to 5 years of life? Because that's how nature intended. You're not
Yeah,
supposed to be getting sicker and slower from the age of 30, which is currently
yeah.
what's going on. So, the thesis at the moment, which we will see if it will be true or not, is not that we are going to suddenly live to 200, but that maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, we will be able to live 5 to 10 years longer, which will give
Uh,
us 5 to 10 years to figure out how to live 5 to 10 years longer, which will give us 5 to 10 years, and so
oh,
on.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and the speed at which research is moving now is just like mind blowing. So I do think with the way we're learning to regenerate tissues and to keep our tissues healthy and to push out all of the old debris that's hurting us and to get rid of these senescent cells, the zombie cells that are causing lots of chaos and inflammation, I think we're moving quickly.
Yeah, and you know, people talk about genetics, but I think in the old days genetics were important. But today, genetics, I mean, the life that my parents lived and the world that they lived in is so different from today. I mean, you know, they were growing their own vegetables, they were, you know, slaughtering their own chickens, and now it's all mass produced and hormones and all that type of thing. So I don't think that genetics, you know, when I did my checkup, he said, you know, how old were your parents when they died? And I threw him completely because my father was 32 and my mother was 99. And they say if you want to work out your life, you add the two together and divide by two. And I said, well, I should be dead long ago. But you know, I think you've got to just. I think our aim is to live the best life that we possibly can every single day, and that's what my journey is. Which to me, you know, I believe in mind power, and you drive it with your mind, but you have to take care of the body as well. So if somebody today wanted to improve their health, where should they actually start? I always say start by being vegan, which they say, oh, I don't know, I love my chicken and I love my meat and I love seafood, blah, blah, blah. But I'm a great believer in you know, vegetables. But here in America, I struggle to buy good vegetables because they're also mass produced. We actually find a farmer's market and we go and buy them from there so that at least they're not genetically modified and all that type of thing. But where does a normal person start?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we are not eating enough plants, absolutely. So we're not getting that phytonutrient variance and that sort of spectrum of phytonutrients that we
Yeah.
used to get. So I always say to people,
Yes.
eat in a rainbow. You must eat
Mm.
many
Yeah.
colors in each plate. And if you are going to have protein from animals, the protein shouldn't be the star of the show. The protein is a quarter of the plate, and three quarters is veggies and salads and all of that colorful stuff.
Yeah.
And then also on top of that, if you're going to have the protein from animals too, they have to be happy animals because sad
Yeah.
animals that grew up in a cage are not going to give you good nutrition and not going to give you good energy. You need to have a happy, healthy animal that's been eating natural food because those micronutrients are what you want out of that animal, not
Yeah.
being fed out of a pipe or all of that horrible
Yes.
stuff.
Uh, and also talk to me about supplements. I mean, do we need supplements today? They say you're not getting the nutrition from the food. So, you know, and then I started drinking turmeric tea, and the turmeric was all the thing. Now it's matcha's all the thing. But it's all money making stuff at the end of the day. And I just say, I wonder how much of this is actually true and how much is a money making setup.
So A lot of supplements are not what they say they are. A lot of
Yeah,
supplements will say something on the label, it's not what's in it, and a lot of it is
yeah,
hype. I
yes,
think if you know what you need, you can top up with supplements. So, for
yeah,
example, for me with the B vitamins, there's no other way I can get B vitamins. So, I do need to have, but a normal B vitamin is going to do nothing for me. It's going to be the same as eating food and getting nothing out of it. I need to have a methylated B vitamin. So the more you know, the more you understand. If you have a lot of inflammation in the body, yes, some amazing things like turmeric, curcumin, and then knowing about the turmeric. The turmeric is easier to be absorbed when it's got a little bit of fat around it. So liposomal, or eat it with a fatty meal. With avocado, for example, would work really well.
oh wow,
So again, very individualized. If you have a hole in your bucket, we need to plug it with something.
yeah,
And that's where the supplement world comes in. There are also schools of thought that when you live in a very polluted place, so very sadly in Johannesburg, the air pollution is shocking in winter. In summer, not a problem. I'm actually going to check what it is today. I've got an app called Air Visual if the air pollution is too high, I don't go out the house. Yeah, so like you can see there, that's Randburg. It's
yeah,
dangerous to go outside right now. It's 152.
wow,
Shanghai or Beijing is 110. So, oops, we're worse than Beijing today.
wow, huh.
And then in the green is Paris at 41.
Wow, it just goes to show, hey, because they're conscious of looking after the planet and making sure they're not burning tires to keep warm at night and that type of thing. So that's what's causing our pollution. They say we're getting 30% less oxygen when we breathe now than people got 100 years ago. So you have
I
to
would think
be breathing deeper and talk to me about. I had a friend staying with me recently, and she does this Wim Hof breathing where you hold your breath, and she can hold her breath up to 3 minutes. I said, "My God, I can't even hold it for 3 seconds." Talk to us about that, and does that really help? She said it clears her head. She said, if I in a state, I just lie down and do my Wim Hof breathing where I hold my breath, and she said it clears my head completely. So tell us about that.
so. There is actually quite a lot of science behind that kind of those breathing exercises. Not so much to hold the breath, but to um, balance your sympathetic parasympathetic system with your vagus nerve. Our
Uh-huh.
vagus nerves are very overstimulated. So we have high anxiety, we're exposed to all this pollution that we just saw. And so we're always in fight and flight mode. And being
Yeah.
able to balance that, it lowers inflammation. It's been shown to boost your immune system and get more oxygen. But all of these other benefits are really what's so powerful is getting that system regulated again. And the
Okay.
grounding mechanism.
Yeah, the ground sheet was the most amazing thing. I went to stay with my friend, and she lost her husband recently, and she said I just couldn't go to sleep. And somebody recommended put the ground sheet on your bed, and she said I did, and it changed my life. And I put it on my bed; it literally changed my life. It's unbelievable. But now, what is one habit that you think that we could do if we just had to choose one habit that would change our life and make us live better for longer? What would that be? Would you say?
One, I don't know if I can choose one.
Okay, give me a
Hydrate,
couple then.
be happy.
Yes, I know my friend Kerry Dell from Wildfoot Warriors. She says you've got to drink at least two, and I battle to drink 2 liters of water. You see, I have my water with me all the time. She calls it her delicious water, and I do sip at it because I talk a lot, so I do sip at it. But to drink 2 liters or 3 liters of this a day, I find impossible. I battle to get through 1 liter.
You can upgrade your water so that it hydrates you more with less water. One of the best ways is to put a little bit of mineral in. So you can either get minerals in drops or you can just drop some pink Himalayan salt inside.
Okay.
And what that does is it allows the water to have the same osmolarity as your blood. So it can pull it into the cells more easily
Oh
than
wow, I
pure.
didn't know that. Wow, you see,
Mm.
girls, we are learning today. We're going to live better for longer for sure. And I know that you love blood tests. I absolutely hate them. You love blood tests. If we had to do a blood test, which one should we do? Should we tell the doctor? Because the doctor tells us, "Oh, come and do your bloods," and he does the bloods and say, "Okay, you just." But how important is it to do a blood test?
Like a blood test because I find people are more motivated by things that are in black and white than they are generally by themselves or by words. So I find the blood tests are a motivator for good health more than a a sentence or a bad news tool. And it depends on your doctor. So if you're in a preventative medicine room, they're going to be testing things that are going to show a trend towards disease, not waiting for the disease itself. But generally, a GP is going to test for a disease. So they'll test TSH for thyroid, for example. But by the time TSH is out, you've already got thyroid disease. Instead, we
Wow.
should be testing vitamin D, thyroid antibodies, cortisol, your stress hormone, because your thyroid and your stress hormone and your adrenal glands, they work so hand in hand. So if you're looking for those blood tests, I think it's a really powerful tool to help you to sway the wagon before it goes down the cliff.
Uh-huh. Now, if you had to give your younger self some advice, what would you say? Because for me, I would definitely, well, I've always been vegetarian. I would have been vegan for longer. But, I would definitely have done more exercise. I never did much exercise until later in life. But what would you tell yourself to make yourself feel better today?
Um, Stop being so mean to yourself. Think that was my biggest thing. I needed to be perfect at everything, and I wanted to work hard and be good at my sport and be the perfect daughter and the perfect thing for everyone else. And only really in my 40s have I realized that, you need peace here before you can solve world peace.
Yeah. And
So,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, and you work in Johannesburg and in Tanzania as well. I've worked all over, and it's stressful traveling and working and all that type of thing. Tell us about it, and tell us what you do in Tanzania when you get there.
I do pretty much the same as what I do here. It's that preventative longevity medicine, helping people to optimize their health. So, stronger, faster, smarter, younger, be more agile, be less inflamed, be able to move more, be able to play with your grandkids without being sore, be able to pick them up, those kinds of things. Um, the traveling is less glamorous than people think. It's
Yes,
a,
I know that one.
yeah. But at least I travel kind of in my same timeline, and I find that's easier than when you cross timelines. It's much more of a
Yes,
recovery and less stress on the body. Um, but the traveling is also great, being immersed in different cultures and understanding what things mean to different people and what
yeah.
changes in diet and lifestyle mean to different people and what they're doing. I learned something amazing in Tanzania. I never knew, and I've just introduced it to my husband, and it's amazing. So they do for heartburn and indigestion and sore tummy and constipation and all of these things, they chop up okra and put it in the water overnight and then drink that okra water.
What's it
Some of
taste like?
it tastes like nothing. It's got no smell and no taste, but it's slimy, which
Ew.
is less pleasant. But if you just shake it before you take your sip, the slime kind of disperses. But it has changed so much. I had an elderly lady there. She was in her 90s, had severe constipation for a long, long time. And the first thing I say when you have constipation is you must sit in a squat position to poo. It's very, very healthy. It's been shown to reduce risk of hemorrhoids, colorectal cancer, all of these things. But she couldn't get into that position even. And she started the okra water. Within 2 days, her poos were proper sausages, normal sausages. Cramps were gone. No more indigestion. No more reflux. And she was one of the patients who can't afford all the fancy supplements and things
Yeah,
like that. So to
yeah,
have something that's so accessible. But yes, pooping, that's also another big thing. You must be pooping
really.
well. Yes.
Well,
Pooping
when you're
every day.
vegan, you don't. That's not a problem. I want to tell you, it really is not a problem.
Amazing. Yeah.
But now
Happy
going
pooping.
But that's so it's from traditional medicine to way out medicine on AI. How do you see the future of medicine? Because they say doctors are going to be replaced with AI. You'll be able to plug yourself into a machine. It'll tell you what's wrong with you and how to put it right and put it right for you. How do you see the future of medicine?
I do think it's going that way. We always used to believe that, a machine can't hold your hand and give you a cancer diagnosis with
Uh,
empathy.
yeah.
But there was a study done in South Africa where I think the number, I could be wrong, but the number was above 80% of people would rather talk to AI about their diagnosis than the nurses and doctors because they felt, especially in an environment where there's a lot of HIV and sexually transmitted diseases, they felt judged by doctors and not by the AI. So if we've lost that race, if we've lost the empathy race with AI, I think we're in trouble a little bit. But the ability to focus on tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of data points within yourself. So if you can feed your genetics, your blood tests, your diet, how you're sleeping, your heart rate variability into a machine, and it can give you daily coaching as to how you can live and exist and improve. I believe we are on the way there already.
Yes.
Um, and I think it's a nice thing that people are becoming empowered with their own health and not just handing it over to somebody on the other side of a desk.
Yeah.
So I think it is going that way. Surgery is becoming very effective with robotics. We're still using
Yes.
surgery with the robotics, but we no longer have to cut big gaping wounds in people.
Yeah, yeah, I know because we sell TVs, as you know, and we sold a TV to a medical company where the guy in China was doing an operation on the person in Brazil, and they were watching it all in South Africa how this was being done. It was all done by robotics over the television. It's just incredible to even think of such a thing. But so we talking to the listenership here is mostly women between 25 and 55, although I think now I see my listenership of men has gone up a lot because men like this type of thing as well. Now, a lot of plastic surgeons tell me they're having just as many men come in for plastic surgery as they do women today. So how do you see that? I mean, this program is mostly for women, but men are really part of our lives. So we need to be able to look after them because men generally die before we do, and when nobody wants to be a widow, not even a rich widow. So, so we've got to look after the men in our life. How do we go about that with their testosterone and all their jangling bits that we're really not that interested in, but we've got to look after them?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say 60% of our patients are men, and even on the skincare facial side, we have more men than women now.
Oh, really? Hey,
And
wow.
we've, I believe it's because we've gotten to a point now where men are having to compete with people 30 years their junior,
Yes.
and they are finally getting that seniority where they have the wisdom to make these great decisions, but the technology side is not being kept up with. And now they're having to compete with these people or they're being phased out. And women have been facing this since day dot, where we are said to expire when our ovaries do. But, oh, can I tell you something interesting before we talk about the men?
Yes. Yes.
So there was this amazing study where they were trying to understand through anthropology why would women live longer than men if our usefulness expires at menopause.
Yeah.
And what they found was that when our estrogen drops when we go into menopause, we become a lot more intuitive and we are able to access information that we weren't able to access before. And without women over menopause age, humanity wouldn't have survived because knowledge would never have been passed down to the next generation. So I just found that amazing that men, if they had to expire, a younger person can hunt, but nobody can
Yeah.
transfer wisdom. So I thought
Oh
that was cool.
wow, that was absolutely. I'm gonna love that one. I'm gonna borrow that one because,
Yeah,
and when
yeah.
you think about the elephants, the older women are the ones who teach the younger ones. And I think a lot of us have got so much information in our heads, and it just goes out the window. And somebody died recently, and I just thought he was such a fantastic man. He knew so much, and I just wish I could have taken his knowledge and put it into my head before he died because it's wasted now. It's absolutely gone. But yeah, there's so many myths about health. What myth do you that people told you about health, and you think that's absolute rubbish? How can you possibly believe
Thanks so much. Margarine is good for you. Terrible.
that?
It's basically plastic. It's like three molecules away from plastic.
Yeah.
Um, the biggest challenge we have, and then I'll talk about the men afterwards, I think in South Africa particularly, and I've seen it in Tanzania as well, but South Africa particularly, is the oils that have been sold to the people. So sunflower oil, better for the heart, canola oil, better for the heart, and that stuff just is the biggest inflammatory source that we can put into our body. So these kinds of health myths that were made up more for the economic world more than for our health, those are the myths that you really have to be careful of. I just think eat like our great grandparents did, and you'll be fine. And do what our great grandparents did. go back to traditional, lifestyles. Okay,
Yeah.
men. So the
Yes.
boys, the men go through andropause just like we go through menopause.
Oh, really?
Yes, but theirs is very, very, very slow. So they start reducing testosterone very slowly. It can even be from mid to late 20s into the 30s, slowly, slowly, slowly. So they don't really see the difference until, as you said so eloquently, their bits and tackle stop working. That's when they pay attention. But it starts much, 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 much earlier than that. And then with the low testosterone plus the high stress, your stress hormone uses the same building blocks as the sex hormone, so they steal more testosterone away. So the higher the stress levels, the faster the testosterone decline. And then on top of that, blood flow, perfusion, so ability for your microvessels to get all the way to all of the bits that we need, that starts to blunt and get less as we get older. So these are factors that are really important to address with the guys, making sure that the heart health is good, making sure that there's no plaques in the vessels. You can just do a little, it's called a carotid ultrasound. It's non-invasive, very easy to see if there's any plaques in the vessels, and then put steps in to take that away. We've seen great research into nattokinase, which is just, it's a natural product that can reverse atherosclerotic plaques, reduce blood clots. There's a lot out there, but if we don't know what's in that particular person, we don't know where to start.
I think that's the biggest thing. There's a lot. There's an old saying, you don't know what you don't know. Sometimes it's good. I really don't want to know what's going on. I must know if it's going to happen. I'll need to prevent it from
Yeah.
happening. But I think one of the biggest lessons I've got today is that aging is not just about getting older. It's about how we continue to live and to make sure that we live to the best we possibly can. So what are you saying to the people now? People say to me, "What's my biggest regret in life?" My biggest regret was I didn't have my hysterectomy earlier. I should have had it when I was 30, and I waited till I was 50, and it was just too long then. But I think that there's so many different things. Some people say, "I'm going to hang on to my uterus and my ovaries forever," and other people say, "They're finished, get them out," type of thing. So, what do you say to people when they come to you and say, "What can I do to prevent myself becoming a decrepit old woman?"
I think we also need to make that distinction between biological age and chronological age. And as
Yes.
long as we know that, the age that is on your passport means nothing.
Yeah.
Really, it means nothing. We can be a sick, slow, unhealthy 20-year-old, and you can be Margaret Hirsch. So if we're working on biological age and we keep focusing on that, every
Yeah.
step we take every single day, every choice we make of what to eat and what not to eat, to go for a walk or to sit and take a meeting, we can take a meeting on a treadmill. You know what I've done, which has been quite cool? You know these wooden bamboo things that you put across your bath so that you can put your books on and
Yes. Yes.
I put one of those on my treadmill. And now I'll put my laptop on my treadmill and I will walk while I'm doing some meetings that I don't have to take notes in.
Oh,
I do a lot
really?
of things like that. Or if I have a meeting with a bunch of people, we'll go for a walk in the forest in Pretoria or something, get a little bit of forest bathing in. But every choice you make takes you closer towards decrepit old lady or closer towards amazing
Yeah.
Margaret Hirsch.
But I think that our health is our greatest wealth. I always say at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you spend so much time trying to make money, and then I see all my friends using up their money now to stay healthy. It's quite a difficult thing. And how do you feel about people sort of just prolonging their life? You don't want to prolong a miserable life. You want to prolong
Yeah.
a really, really good life.
Yeah, and be productive in society. It's not going to help us to have this aging population that is not participating in society and not continuing to live a happy, healthy life for 200 extra years. That sucks for everyone. But if you're now able to participate like you never used to before and change career 6 times and have the wisdom of being in your 90s with the rigor and vitality and energy of your 30s, I mean, how many problems could we solve in this world? It's such an amazing possibility that we're opening up.
So I think for me, what I've got out of this, the aim is to act like you're 30 and to behave like you're 30 and to have a body like you're 30. I now
Yeah.
am about 20 kilos overweight more than I was when I was 30. So I think the first thing is to lose the weight. But now, I mean, you are the epitome of health because you've got the most amazing figure. And you honestly believe that it's just from eating right and exercising right and just doing the right things all the time.
Yeah, honestly, I don't spend hours and hours in the gym. My husband's much better at that than me. He will do weights every day, yoga every day, meditate every day. He's much better at that stuff than me. But if you can just be conscious of food is fuel and not, junk is not giving you anything except making you full for a little bit. And
Yeah.
being active and moving around and experiencing joy. Oh, there was this, oh, glimmers. Glimmers is my new favorite thing.
Okay.
So a glimmer is a thing that makes you feel positive rather than an omen, something that makes you feel negative. So finding these little glimmers, I was at somebody's house and there was this beautiful butterfly, and I just celebrated in the life of that beautiful butterfly and admire the trees as you're walking past and smell the roses and just enjoying life a little bit. I think that adds a lot to it. Be childlike. You don't have to be childish.
Yeah, and I also think companionship, as you say, loneliness today is one of the worst things. And, you've got to put effort
Connection.
into relationships. And here in Florida, 76% of all the people have a pet because they just don't seem to have a relationship with other people, but they can have a relationship with a pet. And you see them pushing their little dogs and their prams around. It's just so hilarious. But
Yeah.
I think a pet is really, really important. And I know that I work in Joburg with the horse people with children with disabilities, and we take them to the horses and they can relate so much better. But talk to us about, I mean, but you've got to put effort into relationships, and why do people not have relationships? They fear rejection, but I mean, I'm in sales, so I'm used to rejection, so it was nothing to me. But, coming to a new country, making new friends, putting yourself out there, it takes a lot of courage as well. So talk to us about how important that is, because I think it's really important, especially as women, as we get older, to have really good friends. And you know the old saying, you can't make old friends. I think it's so important to have really good friends and have people that you can relate to. So my friend here now is 35. And we go out together and we're a team, and and she said to me yesterday, she said, we're just on the same page. It's so nice. And it is so nice, to be like that. So talk to us about how important relationships are.
Yeah, connection is incredibly important. There are these little things on the end of your chromosome called telomeres, and the telomeres are like little protective things. You know the little plastic on the end of a shoelace?
Yes, yes.
That's on the end of the DNA. But every time your cell replicates, it gets a bit shorter, gets a bit shorter, gets a bit shorter until that cell ceases to be. And a lot of the studies in longevity medicine is how do we lengthen these telomeres without the increased risk of cancer? Because if the cell lives forever, it can become cancerous, right? And one of the biggest things they found is if you smile and make eye contact with 50 people a day, it actually increases the length of your telomeres.
Wow. Okay, that's a good one.
So it's anti-aging to smile and look people in the
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah.
But you spoke a little bit about that rejection feeling. I feel that as much as we're scared, the person we're connecting with is just as scared.
Yes.
And you are the happy, sociable person taking the risk. More than likely, they are going to
Yeah.
be overjoyed at the connection
Yes.
made rather
Yeah.
than be very
Yes.
worried. There's some
Yeah.
cultures that are a bit more confusing. In
Yeah.
Lithuania, I had that exact experience. I was so embarrassed. So there was this singer. They were celebrating something at this. It's called a sanatorium. It's like a wellness resort, which is very deeply inculcated into the culture there. So everyone goes, especially the elderly. They'll go for a week, or if they're recovering from surgery, they'll go, and it's just mud baths and forest and natural springs and this kind of
Oh,
thing. But they had this singer there, and he was singing his heart out to these people, and everyone was just
sitting.
staring at him, doing nothing. And me and my consortium, because we spoke at this sanatorium, we were on the balcony and we were dancing and having the best time. And then I looked down and I saw there was this little lady. She must have been well into her 90s, little on her walker, and she was just having the best time jamming in the corner, and everyone was ignoring her. Nobody was going near her, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go dance with this amazing woman. And I went down and I went to go dance with her, and she just looked at me with horror and said I must go
Yeah.
away.
Oh,
And I
really?
thought,
Hey?
what happened? And I went back upstairs, and then she started dancing again. She was fine. But when I spoke to the people there, they said, they were from the Soviet Union,
Yeah.
and in her world, when she's dancing in the corner, she's not realizing anyone's looking at her. But when I came to her, she realized that she's making a spectacle of herself in her mind. And she's attracting attention, which is very uncouth in their culture to attract attention.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. And so I kind of burst her bubble, which I very unintentionally did. I really didn't mean to. So yes, certain cultures it's not going to work. But I think in
Yeah.
most circumstances, if you're smiling at
Yeah.
someone,
Yes. They'll smile
it's
back.
yeah,
Yeah.
you've seen that Coca-Cola ad. It's
Yes.
the
Yes.
best ad where he's laughing on the train and everyone eventually starts laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll send it to the best example. It's contagious, and we spew out very happy endorphins and chemicals out of the top of our heads when we are happy and laughing, and it is contagious, I
Absolutely.
think.
It
It works.
really is. So, well, our time is almost up. So, thank you so much for being on the show today. And if there's just one message you're going to leave to the people out there who now we think are going to live to 100, 150, maybe even 200 years old, what would your message be to them?
Eat from the earth, be happy, dance like no one's watching, enjoy every moment. We want to live as if it's going to be our last day, but banking them all for 200 years.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Girls, I hope you've enjoyed it. All the guys, I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And yeah, it's just incredible. If you did like the show, please like and subscribe. I see I'm getting more subscribers. Please subscribe. At least I know that you're listening and that I'm going in the right direction. And Tamara, thank you so much. We just hope that you carry on looking as gorgeous as you do, helping others to look great and to feel great mostly. And remember, guys, your health is your wealth. So really look after your health, look after yourself, look after those that are close to you. I always tell my husband he's the best looked after person in the world. And and I hope you all go from strength to strength. And I'll see you next week with another exciting chat from a really fantastic person. Thank you.
Thank you.